I came across articles that showed that the key thing you can do to reduce population growth is actually improve health. And that's the only thing that really counts. This is a bit scary. We go from less than 1 billion in 1800, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.4 billion where we are today is happening even faster. Nigeria is headed to be the third largest country in the world, 800 million by the end of the century. So actually China will have shrunk by then. Is the population going to get so big that feeding everybody and maintaining the environment is going to be impossible? Particularly as people get richer, they tend to eat more meat. If we don't do anything, this sector will actually grow over time.
So you're saying not just the fact that there's more people and a larger population, but as people move up towards the middle class, they want to consume more meat.
The one that has gone better than I would have expected 5 years ago is this work to make what's called artificial meat.
Do you eat it as well, or do you like it?
Absolutely.
Bill Gates sits atop a philanthropic empire worth billions and has positioned himself as the architect of food systems designed to make Americans chronically ill, dependent, and ultimately disposable, all while pushing the world towards a future where we eat bugs, insects, that is swallowing patented synthetic slop, all the while watching humanity's numbers dwindle under the guise of sustainability and equity. And this will always be the case. They're doing this for our protection. So let's begin at the root. Bill Gates is not merely investing in agriculture. He is genetically re-engineering the very essence of what we put into our bodies every day. And this video applies to anybody who shops pretty much at any grocery store in Northern America. And the evidence is as irrefutable as his own foundation's tax filings and his public admissions. Through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, he has poured hundreds of millions, yes, hundreds of millions into genetically modified organisms, CRISPR-edited crops, synthetic biology startups, and partnerships with the very agribusiness giants like Monsanto and Cargill that have turned our fields into chemically soaked monocultures. Obviously, at the end of the day, what you put inside of your own body is your responsibility as a sovereign adult, but the saying that being healthy is inconvenient is so because of Bill Gates. Like, this is especially true in the United States because of this man. Back in 2010, the foundation bought hundreds of thousands of shares in Monsanto while simultaneously launching the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, a multi-billion-dollar initiative explicitly aimed at flooding smallholder farms across the continent with patented GM seeds, chemical fertilizers, and the promise of higher yields that never materialized for the people who needed it the most. Critics from African farmer coalitions and independent researchers have documented how these programs have instead led to skyrocketing debt for farmers forced to buy new seeds every season because the GM varieties are engineered not to reproduce true to type, but a dependency on Monsanto's proprietary herbicides and soil degradation that leaves the land barren for future generations. All while Gates stood on stages claiming GMOs would end starvation in Africa by 2030. And understand, going forward with everything I break down in front of you here, he always uses Africa as a template before he puts it on the Northern American people. And that's why I'm always repeating to you guys ad nauseum that anytime you go to a grocery store, at least make sure that you're getting non-GMO products, at minimum. But I digress. Do not mistake this for mere failed charity, something he dropped the ball on. Extrapolate the pattern and you will see the design. Gates has repeatedly endorsed CRISPR and gene editing as the future of food. He's poured money into projects that insert foreign DNA into staple crops like rice, cassava, and maize to create so-called nutrient-enriched or drought-resistant varieties that carry his foundation's patents or licensing deals. He's getting paid to poison us. In his own words, and through his funded proxies, he has pushed for genetic modification of everything from dairy cows to soil microbes, arguing that only high-tech patented biology can feed a growing planet. And this is not benevolence. This is control. By genetically altering the food supply at the seed level, Gates and his allies ensure that the farmers, and by extension across all of these entire nations, must come back to the corporate seed cartel year after year, paying tributes in the form of royalties where nutritional profile of the food itself is warped. So these so-called charities that helps people by charging them interest while poisoning the supply continue to fatten their pockets while we die as dying animals in the inside. And this agenda didn't stay only in Africa. As I said, it has metastasized in American food chains through the very same corporations and partners that Gates has backed, flooding our supermarkets with genetically engineered corn, soy, and derivatives that form the backbone of all this ultra-processed junk that is also cross-contaminated in all the so-called healthy aisles. Now, you layer onto this direct causal link to why Americans are fatter, sicker, and more inflamed than any point in history. The explosion of chronic disease, obesity rates tripling since the 1970s, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune conditions, and the mysterious spike in cancer among the young. This is not random. These aren't random acts of God or bad personal choices alone. It is the predictable outcome of a food system Gates has helped supercharge with genetically modified, chemically drenched, and now synthetically fabricated products that our bodies were never designed to process at scale. GM crops engineered to withstand massive doses of glyphosate leaves, residues in our bread, our cereal, our meat from animals who are fed this garbage, and independent analysis have tied these residues to gut microbiome destruction, hormonal disruption, and inflammation that drives the very metabolic syndrome ravaging the United States. And Gates Foundation has defended GMOs as perfectly healthy. Yet the long-term epidemiological data from populations shifted to these diets tells a very different story. More ultra-processed calories running through our veins, churning us and killing us. Fewer micronutrients, and a population hooked on cheap, addictive frankenfoods that keep them obese, lethargic, and dependent on pharmaceutical band-aids. Pharmaceuticals, by the way, from companies Gates has also invested in through his personal vehicles. We are addicted to a non-stop cycle of addictions from this man. His ownership of nearly 270,000 acres of prime U.S. farmland, the largest private holding in the nation. Like that alone, the fact that Bill Gates has bought up the vast majority of farmland in the United States so that we can have no direct-to-consumer freedom to feed ourselves going forward, like that alone should bother you. And what do you think he does with all of those acres? He's not only buying up land, he's also mass spanning potatoes for McDonald's fries, soybeans, corn, and more. All poison, by the way. It gives him direct skin in the game of industrial agriculture that supplies the very supply chain, making us sick while stealing from everyday working Americans. He's not doing good with this land, make no mistake. He's creating poison that is normalized inside the grocery aisles. And this is not hyperbole. It's an extrapolation from pattern of behavior he's demonstrated. Gates does not grow organic heirloom varieties or grass-fed animal products on his empire of land. He backs the high-tech, high chemical model that maximizes patented output while minimizing nutritional density. It's poison. Normalized poison that the sheeple masses consume. And the result? Americans eat more calories but starve for real nutrition, true vitality. There is none. And it leads to this epidemic of hidden hunger that all these obese people talk about. And there's no coexisting of nutrition then. They're all malnourished. His investments in synthetic biology firms like Ginkgo Bioworks, genetically engineering yeast and bacteria to churn out flavors, proteins, and so-called natural additives for ultra-processed foods, it only further accelerates the poisoning of mankind. The man has his hands in every aspect of the game because it's biological warfare and we are under attack. And his finances are always in the gambit. These are not wholesome alternatives. They are laboratory creations designed to mimic real food while carrying patents that lock in profit for the few. And when Gates publicly states that rich countries like America should shift entirely to synthetic beef to combat climate change, he's not joking. This is the big agenda and goal of his. He is signaling the replacement of real nutrient-dense animal agriculture with his patented ultra-processed substitutes that line the pockets of his portfolio companies like Impossible Foods, which he has backed and which relies on genetically engineered ingredients. The American public gets fatter, sicker, and more medicated in turn. And Bill Gates gets richer and more powerful. That is the business model at hand here. But the assault does not stop at GMOs and synthetics. Bill Gates wants you to, yes, you listening to the video, to eat bugs. And this is not conjecture pulled from thin air. I'm not being a conspiratorial quack here. It's directly traceable to his foundation's own grants and his broader agenda of forcing alternative proteins down the world's throat under the banner, once again, of sustainability. In May 2012, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation issued a $100,000 grant to All Things Bugs LLC, explicitly to develop a method for the efficient production of nutritionally dense foods using insect species. In their own words, this was not some one-off curiosity. It was a part of a deliberate pivot towards insect protein at a scalable, low-emission replacement for traditional livestock rate. Gates has invested in or backed multiple startups as well that's based on researching bug-derived proteins, mealworms, crickets, and the like, all while his public platforms and funded proxies promote the idea that insects represent sustainable future of food.
Eating insects is commonplace in lots of the world. It's just never caught on in the US. But some entrepreneurs think we're ready.
I'm Nicole Kidman, and I am going to eat a full-course meal of bugs.
So All Things Bugs is my biotechnology company that I founded in 2011. Primarily, it got started to develop a food product for malnourished children using insects as a major food source.
This is a powder derived from the mealworm, and it's a insect protein just been approved by the EU for human consumption.
I am here to reveal my hidden talent, eating micro livestock, cornworms. They're still alive. Extraordinary.
Videos and reports have surfaced showing his foundation's involvement in pushing cricket powders, mealworm-based nutrition for malnourished kids, and the broader narrative that bugs require far fewer resources than cattle, because we are cattle to them. Fewer emissions, less land, less water, so eat the insects, kids. Now, when you extrapolate this intention globally and you see the plan, you phase out real meat for the masses and replace it with insect flour hidden in processed foods or sold as eco-friendly protein bars, and condition the public to accept it as normal while the elite continue to dine on steak. This is their plan, to demoralize us and to normalize this sickness. It's twisted. This bug agenda is no single project as well. It dovetails perfectly with his synthetic meat crusade. He has personally invested in lab-grown meat companies like Upside Down Foods and has backed plant-based giants like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, all while declaring in interviews and writings that the future demands we move away from conventional animal agriculture. Talk about being biochemically screwed up in every direction. In one breath, he praises climate-friendly substitutes that do not sacrifice flavor, but in the next, his foundation funds the infrastructure to mass produce insect protein for the very population he claims to be saving. Fake philanthropy. The message is clear, crystal clear, and directly from his intentions. Traditional farming and ranching are the problem, and the solution is his portfolio of patented alternatives. Whether it's genetically engineered yeast making beef, so-called beef I should say, or cricket ground into powder. For Americans already drowning in ultra-processed food, this means even more dependency on factory-produced slop that lacks the full spectrum of nutrients found in real meat, leading to further declines in health, weaker immune systems, poor muscle maintenance, and a population too malnourished to resist the next phase of control. That's the main goal. He doesn't say outwardly, go eat bugs in every speech, but his money and his machine do the talking louder than any soundbite that you can find. Just follow the evidence. Look at the paper trail, and it makes a crystal clear path. Bill Gates' so-called philanthropy is nothing more than a masqueraded agenda of depopulation and the poisoning of humanity at a global scale. He's anti-human. Obviously, everyone talks about listening to his own words from the 2010 TED Talk, Innovating to Zero, delivered to a room full of world's elitists as well. In his own words, he says that the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to around 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Those are his words verbatim. And I'll delve into this in the second part of the series for sure. But it is on the record, unedited, in the full transcript. The context was based on apparently reducing CO2 emissions, but of course, at the cost of humanity, at the cost of kids. Plain English is unmistakable. Better vaccines, health services, and global solutions equal fewer people. Pair this with his massive investments through his foundation in global vaccine programs, reproductive health initiatives, and the very same African agriculture experiments that critics say have failed to deliver food security while increasing corporate dependency, and the pattern emerges as a very coherent strategy. Bill Gates is an absolute demon. His philanthropy does not save lives in a vacuum. It manages them. By funding GM crops, insect proteins, and synthetic foods under the banner of fighting hunger and climate change, he creates a world where the masses are fed low-nutrient, patented substitutes that keeps them alive, sure, but unhealthy, sick, enslaved, dependent, and less likely to reproduce at replacement levels. most importantly, which is his goal. The depopulation is not through mass extermination camps, my friends, but through the slow poison of a degraded food supply, combined with healthcare and reproductive services that quietly reduce fertility rates while claiming victory over disease. Look at the outcomes in the very region his foundation has targeted. Just look at people based on the fruit that they bear. Persistent hunger despite billions spent, farmer suicides linked to debt from GM seed packages, and birth rates declining as chronic illness rises, all linked to his funding. In America, the same force erodes our vitality, all while Gates buys up farmland and backs the companies rewriting our dinner plates. This is not charity whatsoever. This is eugenics rebranded as sustainability, with the quiet goal of a smaller, more manageable global population that consumes less, obeys more, and eats whatever patented protein Slurpee he and his Davos friends deem acceptable. Bill Gates' genetic modification of our food is real, and most of you here, my subscribers included, are eating his slop while fattening up his pockets when you just look at his documented connections and foundation grants and corporate partnerships. His role in making America unhealthy flows directly from the industrial food system he champions and profits from through land and investments. His desire for us to eat bugs is not a conspiracy, but a funded reality through the company All Things Bugs and the alternative protein empire that he bankrolls. Like, he's behind all of this. His philanthropy is the velvet glove over the iron fist of depopulation and control. So wake up before the plate is empty and you're only further forced into slavery and submission.